Ukuleles come from all over the globe to feature on GotAUkulele, and this one's no different. This week we go to South America. Yes, it's got a ukulele review day. As always, this is your summary review. Look at the link below. You'll get a lot more detail and photographs and that kind of thing. And as I say, this one, we see us going to the other side of the world again. This is an instrument from Nicaragua, in fact, in South America. And weirdly, not the first brand from Nicaragua I've reviewed, which is kind of unusual. But it's not the same brand. You may look at it and think it's the same brand. It's not. This is a Baritone by NFC Ukuleles. NFC stands for Nestor Fuentes Castillo, a builder from near Managua in Nicaragua. He's been building for a couple of years, taught by a guitar luthier, I believe, and there's quite a few features in this, which are very, very guitar-y, which we'll come on to. And it's in that striking local wood from Nicaragua called Cocobolo. You may remember my reviews of the Cocobolo brand ukuleles. This is not the Cocobolo brand, this is NFC. This is a baritone, double bout shape, and as with anything made from Cocobolo, it's quite the looker, isn't it? Sorry about the fingerprints, but there we are. We'll come on to why in a moment. 2 pieces on the top, 2 pieces on the back, 2 pieces on the sides. The sides are quite plain. The top employs this sapwood and the swirly browns and reds, very reminiscent, very typical of Cocobolo, and the same on the top. Now, what I found here is my OCD alarm is going off because it's not quite book matched, and that kind of irritates me a little bit. Certainly not book matched properly on the back. I saw that with the Cocobolo brand ukuleles, and I think it may be something to do with just the way Cocobolo splits and cuts, because it's so swirly and so much variation. So maybe that's an unfair criticism. And certainly I've seen Cocobolo brand instruments which are much worse on that front. But I mention it, I'd want it a bit better book matched, but there we are. And it's finished. The reason for those fingerprints, it's finished in a really deep gloss. I mean, you can see everything in my room, in the mirror, the lights and the windows. It is for a handmade in a workshop instrument, not a factory line instrument, that gloss is quite staggeringly deep and shiny. It's really, really well finished. It's a little over thick around here and a little over thick around the bridge, but not in a really bad way at all. It's really nicely done. Alright, let's move on. The bridge plate is made of Cocobolo 2, as are those bridge pins, which is the way the strings are attached, and that's a curved top, and I'll tell you why in a moment, bone saddle. And then I looked at it and I thought, can you see that that bridge plate is actually on a slight angle to the body? Now, that usually sets alarm bells ringing for me, because that means the intonation could be off, because it's critical you get this in the right place. But he's also angled the saddle, and it's almost like a bit of a compromise that I took out a tape measure and I measured from nut to saddle, and the scale lengths are exactly right. So there shouldn't be a problem with intonation. But it does also set off my OCD in the same way as the top book matching does. Minor point, maybe. There we are. Looking inside. Notch linings, fairly delicate bracings. He's got a top brace piece there which he's drilled holes into it like Ukulele do, and the other bracing runs down this way, and that's all made from Nicaraguan cedar, and it's all really tidy in there. He's also employed what's called a Spanish heel, which is the way you connect the neck to the body. In fact, it's very traditional in guitar making, Spanish guitar making, and good Spanish guitar makers will tell you this is the only way to do it. Rather than bolting the neck on, the body is effectively built around an end piece of the neck. It's very, very secure and very good for sound transmission through the instrument. That's cool. That's very cool to see. The neck is made of Nicaraguan cedar. It's a fairly flat profile up here. You've got a joint at the heel and a joint at the headstock, but they're pretty well hidden. And it's nearly 40 mil at the nut and nearly 30 mil from D to E, the first to the fourth string. So it's nice and roomy. It's also radiused, that fingerboard, which is made of Cocobolo. It's a really tight radius, 7.25 inch radius, which is a bit too tight for me. It feels almost like a violin. I'd like that a bit shallower myself. But that's what it is, and that's the reason that bone saddle is curved on the top too, to match the radius. So the strings sit like this. It's about comfort. Frets, unusual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to the body. 13, 14, 15. There's nothing wrong with joining a baritone at the body at the 12th, but they're normally joined at the 14th. I've seen one or two at the 13th, but normally the 14th. This is joined at the 12th. It is what it is. It's still a baritone scale, but there we are. Now, what's missing? There's no fret markers at all, neither facing out nor on the side. Now, being a luthier built instrument, if you place an order, you specify those. You say, I want them, and I'd want them, and I've seen other images of his instruments that have them. I'm clueless as to why he sent one over for me to review without them, because it was clear I was going to mention that. It's nice to know that he does fit them, but why didn't he fit them on this one? I just don't know. I'd want them, or at least one. There we are. Up to the headstock. Pleasingly simple in shape, square top, very like old Martin guitars, faced on the front, but also faced on the back in Cocobolo, and I love that sandwich effect, also glossy and shiny. Those tuners are Grover 4 copies, and this one came strung with D'Addario Nile Guts with a wound D and G string. And then, so we come on to the pricing. Being a luthier build instrument like the one I looked at last week, I have to say the pricing depends on what you specify. To give you a flavour, his instruments start about $450. In this spec, this would cost you $650, but importantly, that price is delivered anywhere in the world. So the instrument's obviously a bit less than $650. I still think that's a good price for an instrument. It's this nicely finished, all completely handmade by one guy in a workshop. You know, that takes time. That's interesting. I don't think it's too bad a price at all. Overall, the build is very good, actually. I love that finish. It's quite hefty. I think Cocobolo is quite a dense, heavy wood, and it does feel quite hefty, but it is balanced, to be fair. Yeah, the OCD alarm goes off here. The OCD alarm goes off with the book matching. Why aren't there any fret markers on there? But I know all of those things could be changed when you specify them, so I'm not going to make too big a deal about them. I don't like the radius. I'd want the radius a bit flatter myself, but again, not a massive issue. And I say it's hefty. It's not overbuilt, as we'll see, because the volume is absolutely terrific. So let's tune it up. I think it's in tune because I've been playing it. But these strings were going out. Sounds very like a baritone. That's seriously loud. And that sustain. Shimmery sustain. That's really nice. Playing a guitar. Feels like playing a Spanish guitar. And there's another reason why it feels a bit like that as well. You might notice the strings don't really fan out as they come down. I think these are quite tight down here, so the strings are quite straight. That's very Spanish guitar in style. Spanish heel in here as well. So it's quite clear he's taking his building techniques from the guitar world. I'd like those fanned out a little bit more. I'd like that radius a little bit softer. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with that sound. It's darker than I expected it to sound. Very woody. wrong with the volume and sustain. A little bit too dark for my ears. I think I'd prefer to listen to one of these in tenor or concert scale, which he makes. But still, quirky, very quirky. Lots of quirkiness in this build. $650, NFC baritones. You'll find him on Facebook. There's a link on the written review below where you find out how to get hold of him. Yeah, those things come with the risk of getting something shipped around the world, but I've been in email conversations with him. He's a really nice fella, actually, and I know one or two other people I know well who've bought them and seem to be delighted with them. Baritone from NFC, all the way from Nicaragua. Quite the stunner, hey? Really is. Okay, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm back next week. Something I know people will be really interested in because it's a brand I've featured several times before and they're always fun. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye.